Okay, let's get one thing straight right away. Forget autocomplete. We are way past that. We're stepping into a brand new era where AI isn't just suggesting the next line of your code, it's your new engineering collaborator. Today we're going to break down how AI agents are completely transforming every single part of software development, from that very first idea all the way to the final push to production. Look at this number. Just soak it in for a second. 2 hours and 17 minutes. You know what that is? That's how long the best AI models today can autonomously chew on a complex engineering problem and still have a 50-50 shot at nailing it. We're not talking about finishing your sentence. We're talking about AI handling a task that would take a human engineer hours of deep, focused work. And this timeline, this shows you exactly why this is all happening right now. A couple of years ago, an AI's attention span was, 30 seconds? Today, it's over 2 hours. And here is the absolute kicker. That capability is doubling every 7 months. This isn't just a small step up, it's an explosion. It's the reason we've made the jump from simple code assistants to true project completing agents. So here's our game plan for today. We'll kick things off by exploring that huge leap from basic tools to truly smart agents. Then we're going to follow the code through its entire lifecycle, from planning and design through build and test all the way to production, to really see how an engineer's job is changing at every single stage. And we'll wrap it all up with a practical guide on how you can start becoming an AI native team. First things first, let's be really clear about what we mean by agents. This is not just a souped-up autocomplete. No way. An agent is a system that you can hand off an entire task to. You can literally say, refactor this whole module for better performance, and it can plan the work, execute the code changes, and then test its own work. It's a real collaborator. So what's the secret sauce here? Well, it really boils down to these 4 big breakthroughs. First, unified context. This means the AI sees the whole picture. It's not just looking at one file, it's reading your code, your configs, your logs, everything. Then you've got tool execution, which means it can actually run your compiler or your test suite to see if its code works. It's not just guessing. Persistent memory is huge. It means the AI remembers past decisions on a project. And finally, evaluation loops let it check its own work against your standards, and it keeps trying until it gets it right. It's that combination that makes it a true agent. All right, let's start where every project begins, planning and design. This is an area where, honestly, AI agents are already compressing what used to be days of manual research and feasibility studies into just a few moments. And this brings us to a core pattern you're going to see again and again. Delegate, review, and own. So in the planning phase, you delegate the grunt work. You tell the agent, hey, read this spec and figure out how it might fit into our current code base. Then your job is to review what it comes back with. Is it accurate? Did it miss any constraints? But, and this is key, you own the final call. The strategy, the priorities, the big trade-offs, that's still all you. This exact same pattern holds true for design. You delegate all those repetitive tasks, like turning a visual mock-up into the first batch of code components. Your role then shifts to reviewing that work for quality and making sure it fits into the bigger picture. And that frees you up to own what really truly matters, the overarching design system and the final user experience. You're not just pushing pixels around anymore. You're crafting the soul of the product. Okay, let's move on to where these agents have probably the most obvious impact, the build and test phases. This is where the engineer's role makes a massive shift, really, from being a writer of code to being an editor and an architect. So during the build phase, you basically hand off the entire first draft. The agent can handle all the basics, the create, read, update, delete logic, and it can wire all of it together. Your expertise comes in during the review. You're hunting for those subtle things an AI might miss, like performance bottlenecks or security holes, and you own the architecture. You're the one deciding on the new abstractions that are going to keep the code base healthy for years. And hey, this isn't just some hypothetical future. Take CloudWalk, for example. They say their AI can turn a stack into working code, even entire microservices, in just a few minutes. As they put it, it removes the busy work and gives every employee the power to implement ideas at remarkable speed. Just think about that. That is a massive force multiplier for your whole team. And what about testing? Same pattern. You delegate the creation of the initial test suite. The agent reads the code and writes all the baseline tests. Your job as a reviewer is to make sure these tests aren't just empty shells. But where the human brain really shines is in the ownership part. You're the one thinking about the really creative, tricky edge cases, making sure the test coverage actually reflects how a real user is going to interact with the feature. So, if AI is writing all this code so fast, a really big question pops up. How do you stop the quality from just completely tanking? Well, the answer is you turn the AI back on the code itself. You use it to scale up your review and your documentation standards across the board. Just think of the AI as your team's tireless code review assistant. It never gets tired, it never gets grumpy. You delegate the first pass on every single code change. The agent checks for common errors, style issues, all that stuff. This means by the time a human actually reviews it, all the simple stuff is already fixed. You get to focus on the big questions like, does this fit our architecture, or is this the right long-term solution? And these AI reviewers are unbelievably powerful. As Sansan points out here, their AI agent has caught really subtle issues like race conditions and improper hard coding. The kind of stuff that's super easy for a human reviewer to miss on a Friday afternoon. It can even anticipate future problems with scalability. And what about documentation? That one task that everyone loves to put off. Yeah, you can delegate the first draft of summaries for files and code changes to an agent. Your review then gets to focus on the really critical human-facing documents, like your public API guides or your operational playbooks. This frees you up to own the high-level strategy, making sure your documentation is actually useful, not just, there. Okay, so we planned it, we've built it, we've documented our new feature. What happens when it's live and something breaks? Let's look at how AI is completely changing operations, moving teams away from stressful manual triage to automated diagnosis. Just picture this. An alert goes off at 2 in the morning. Now, instead of you frantically digging through logs, you delegate that initial triage to an agent. It instantly connects that error spike with a recent deployment and points to the exact lines of code that are causing the problem. Your job as the engineer is to review that diagnosis, confirm it's correct, and then approve the fix. The human still owns that final call, especially for brand new problems. But that frantic search in the middle of the night, that's automated. Virgin Atlantic gives us a perfect real-world example. By giving their AI agent access to everything, logs, code, deployment data, all right there in the IDE, they have dramatically sped up finding the root cause of problems. Their teams now spend way less time firefighting and a lot more time improving the long-term reliability of their systems. So the potential here is obviously enormous. But the big question is, how do you make this a reality for your team? In this last section, we're going to cover the practical steps you can take to start building an AI native engineering culture starting today. And the crucial thing to understand is that this isn't like flipping a switch. It's a gradual process. You start small. You find repetitive tasks. You set really clear guardrails. And I love this idea of a shared agents.md file, almost like a constitution for your AI collaborators that defines what they should and shouldn't do. From there, you integrate with the tools you already use, you measure the impact, and then you slowly, piece by piece, expand the agent's responsibilities. So, to wrap this all up, the engineer's focus is fundamentally being elevated. You move from being a writer of code to its editor and its reviewer. Your attention shifts from the tiny little implementation details to the big picture feature intent and the architecture. You stop doing all that manual toil, and you start delegating entire workflows, which allows you to own what truly matters most: strategy, quality, and solving the really hard problems. So we're going to leave you with this thought. This isn't some forecast for 10 years from now. This is happening today. Your team's next hire, its next key collaborator, is going to be an AI. And the only question that's left is, are you ready to lead them?